In a world absolutely overrun with smartphone clones, Sony Mobile thankfully still dares to stand out from the crowd with its latest handsets. I mean, just look at this crazy mofo here, the Xperia 1 flagship phone. This is a serious tall boy packing some really unique and innovative features. Sony Xperia phones offer a satisfying user experience with strong movie and music chops and plenty of unique little tools that you won't find anywhere else. I've reviewed every handset that Sony has brought to the UK, and here's my roundup of the top 7 best Sony smartphones that you can buy right now in 2019. And for more on the latest and greatest sexy mobile tech from Sony or otherwise, please do poke subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! Now, if your wallet is fat with stacks and you demand the absolute best of the best, then gaze no further than the Xperia 1, Sony's latest flagship smartphone. This is the jewel in Sony Mobile's crown and one of the greatest portable media machines that I've ever played with. The new elongated 21:9 display is a perfect fit for movies, giving a cinema-style experience in the palm of your hand. And that 4K OLED screen pumps out eye-blastingly gorgeous visuals that other phones can only dream of. And that's before we even touch on the Cine Ultra support and smart upscaling software. It's not all just about the picture though. The Sony Xperia 1 also packs some serious audio creds. For one, the brilliant LDAC on here means great, crisp, clear audio when you're enjoying it with some Bluetooth headphones. And if you've got some wired phones instead, you've got that upscaling of low-res tracks to near high-res definition. And this is the first Sony Mobile to come packing a triple lens camera around the back. You now get an ultra-wide angle and telephoto shooter, making this a fully versatile snapper. And while the auto mode isn't quite perfect sadly, you do get excellent manual controls and can shoot proper Hollywood-style 21:9 home movies complete with a strong selection of professional filters. All of that, and I haven't even banged on about the premium performance or the dependable battery life or the slick software. Basically, the Xperia 1 is a great all-rounder and a fantastic rival to any other flagship phone out there. You can buy it in the UK right now. Now, if you really love that stretched design of the Xperia 1, but your bank balance is looking a bit sketchy, maybe check out the cheaper Sony Xperia 10 Plus instead. You once again have a monstrous 6.5-inch 21:9 display, although this time around it's an IPS panel. But slip into landscape mode and your flicks will look fantastic, with supported content filling the entire panel. On super vivid mode, those colours really pop, and despite the mighty size, that Full HD Plus resolution keeps your visuals perfectly sharp. Plus, that elongated finish is also ideal for multitasking with 2 apps side by side. You get the same great audio features as the fully fledged Xperia 1 as well, so no compromises there. The chipset stuffed inside isn't quite as powerful as the Xperia 1 Snapdragon 855, and the battery has shrunk a little bit as well, but the Xperia 10 Plus can still cope happily with anything you throw its way and survive a full day to boot. As for the camera, you still get an 8-megapixel telephoto lens backing up the 12-megapixel primary shooter, and you can capture good looking photos as well as 4K resolution video at that 21:9 aspect ratio. Overall, for the 350 quid asking price, this is a lot of phone for your cash. Now, if you're not quite sold on that new stretched 21:9 design, or your budget won't quite stretch all the way to the Xperia 1, maybe check out the previous generation flagship instead, the beefy and beautiful Xperia XZ3. Sure, it's not as skinny as the Xperia 1, but that sleek burgundy finish and the curvy chassis still gets me all hot and bothered. Thankfully, the XZ3 is proper rugged as well, so it won't lose its gorgeous good looks even if it takes a few knocks. And like the Xperia 1, you even get full IP68 dust and water resistance in case you drop the wee blighter in your pint. Also, like the Xperia 1, you have a gorgeous OLED display with full HDR support, and your Netflix fodder has never looked better, especially with some help from Sony's X-Reality software smarts to boost the look of lesser content. Besides all of that, Sony's motion eye camera is very capable and feature-packed. Most of the tools found on the latest flagship are still available on the Xperia XZ3, including 4K HDR video, super slow motion at 960 FPS, full manual controls, and a bit of 3D face modeling if that's your bag. Basically almost everything apart from those cinema-style filters. Capping it all off is the still very nippy Snapdragon 845 platform, providing smooth performance even for intense gaming sessions. Battery life remains impressive too. I never struggle to make it through the day, and the longevity hasn't degraded over time thanks to that smart charging tech. And if you can still find it, Sony's older Xperia XZ2 flagship phone is definitely still a quality buy as well, rocking many of the same specs and features of that XZ3. The Snapdragon 845 chipset is present and correct, so speed once again isn't an issue, and solid battery life once again ensures a full day of playtime without stress. Most of Sony's best bits from the Xperia 1 and the XZ3 were already around for the XZ2, despite the fact it's over a year old at this point. For one, the audio chops are very strong, and Bluetooth fans will get full aptX HD support for crystal clear playback. But my favourite Sony Xperia feature is definitely Remote Play, which allows you to stream your PlayStation 4 games direct to that dinky Xperia screen. It's great news if you want to blast through a nice bit of God of War while you're taking your morning dump. That motion eye camera is just as great on the older XZ2 as well, with 4K HDR video support, strong photo quality even in low light, and yes, full manual controls when you need them as well. Overall, despite the fact that it's well over a year old now, the XZ2 is very deserving of a spot in your handbag or shorts, especially if you're a demanding user on a stricter budget. If you have the opposite problem and that your pockets are absolutely stuffed full of cash and you can't even give this stuff away, then good news. The Xperia XZ2 Premium is still available and one of the most expensive Sony handsets that you can buy, so it's a fairly worthy way of emptying your wallet, even if it has been superseded now by the Xperia 1. The crazy sharp 4K HDR display is still gorgeous, and this was the first Sony blower to sport a dual lens camera on its rear. The secondary monochrome lens helps to capture highly detailed shots at any time of day, with night shots coming close to the very best camera phones out there. And the video results are unsurprisingly shit hot as well. Now, Sony Mobile was one of the very few phone manufacturers actually still producing mini handsets up until 2019, when it went the 21:9 route instead. And if you're getting ulterior and reminiscent about those compact handsets, then definitely check out the last of the bunch, the Sony Xperia XZ2 Compact. At 5 inches, this is absolutely dwarfed by every other smartphone and great to use one-handed. The last of the compacts is getting on a bit now, but it still packs plenty of power, as it shares most of the specs of that full-sized XZ2 flagship. Power is once again provided by Qualcomm's excellent Snapdragon 845 platform, while the mini Full HD display is both crisp and colourful. All of Sony's software smarts have also travelled across, such as Remote Play, the high-res audio support, and that X-Reality engine for boosting low-res visuals. Seriously, this dinky blower is super smart and absolutely adorable to boot, and the fact that you can actually use it one-handed is absolutely marvellous. Sony's most affordable smartphone in 2019 is the Xperia L3, which at just 169 quid offers pretty solid value for money. The L3 is a big step up from last year's L2, showing off some impressively smooth performance for a budget handset. Sure, it is just a MediaTek chipset that's stuffed inside, but that's backed by 3 gigs of RAM and it copes well enough with apps, media streaming, and even some light gaming. That 13 megapixel rear camera is bolstered by a basic depth sensor for shooting accurate bokeh shots, while you have an 8 megapixel selfie snapper to grab shots of that pretty face of yours. And you can shoot away all day thanks to the 3300 mAh battery, which sports Sony's adaptive charging tech to help prevent long-term damage. Sadly, it is the older Android Oreo on board rather than the latest Tasty Pie, so the Xperia L3 isn't fully up to date. And the Xperia L3 also lacks that super tall 21:9 aspect ratio of the rest of Sony's new smartphones, though we still really like the relatively compact design, especially Sony's effective edge-mounted fingerprint sensor and that Gorilla Glass 5 finish to keep the screen in tip-top shape. No complaints with a punchy IPS screen either, which pumps out crisp, colourful visuals. And that right there is my roundup of the best Sony smartphones that you could buy right now in 2019. Which one is your own particular favourite? If you let us know in the comments down below, and please do poke, subscribe and ding that notifications bell for more on the latest and greatest shiny tech. Thanks everyone, love you!